You have to truly believe in the magic.
What's up, Magic fans, and welcome to this week's episode of Penny for Your Thoughts, the Orlando Magic UK podcast. My name's Mikey. Today is Sunday, the 23rd of October 2022. On today's episode, I'm going to jump into the first week of the Orlando Magic NBA season. We're going to recap the games against the Detroit Pistons, the Atlanta Hawks, and the Boston Celtics. Before we jump into all of that, as you can see, I'm on my own for today's podcast. If you listened to last week's marathon episode, I think it was the longest podcast we've done. It was about 2 hours long, but we did a full breakdown of the Eastern Conference and we gave our predictions of where we thought the Orlando Magic are going to finish this season and how the rest of the East might shake out. So if you haven't listened to that, go back and check out that episode. Paul and Gary are currently out in Orlando at the moment. They were at last night's game against Boston alongside Angus, Ian, and a couple of other guys out there as well. So they're having a good time. Unfortunately, we've got a bit of sad news. Geraint was supposed to join me on tonight's episode, but unfortunately, they've had a bit of bad news. So if you guys listen to the show, you know that Geraint and his family were supposed to be flying with me and my family out this Wednesday to go out to Orlando for a couple of weeks. But unfortunately, Amy's not very well, and she's been told she's not allowed to fly, which is really, really sad news. So unfortunately, they won't be coming with us this time. Hopefully we can do it again in the future, and they can rearrange their holiday for a later date. But get well soon, Amy, and we'll make sure we're nice and loud and proud for those guys. So yeah, so I'm going to do a solo episode, so it's going to be a bit of a shorter episode today. And this will probably give you the last episode for about 3 weeks until we're all back, and then we can jump back into the normal weekly episodes. So guys, if you haven't already, for merchandise, shop the latest Orlando Magic gear at both NBA EU and Fanatics UK. All the links are in the description of the podcast. Add the code MAGICUK10 at the checkout for 10% off. Or you can head to our own online store, magicfansapparel.tmail.com, for some of our own merch. Or if you'd like to help support the podcast for free, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Orlando Magic UK. Even if you don't subscribe and you subscribe on another platform, that really helps us out. So it's been a busy week in the start of the NBA season. Like I said, the Magic have already played the first 3 games. Let's just run through. So we've got some injury news, or lack of, shall I say. So the Magic are still without Gary Harris with his meniscus injury. There's no timetable on his return at the moment. Nothing on Jonathan Isaac. Mo Wagner was listed out for the Celtics. Jalen Suggs, which we'll talk about shortly, obviously left the game against Atlanta with a sprained ankle. He didn't play last night. There's no timetable on him, and Markelle Fultz is still listed out with a toe injury. So let's jump into the games. So the Magic played the Detroit Pistons on Wednesday I think what we were really excited to see, it was last year's number 1 pick, Cade Cunningham, against this year's first round pick, Paolo Banchero. 2 up-and-coming young, fun teams in the NBA went head-to-head with each other, and Orlando got off to a really good start. So they jumped out to a 28-17 lead in the first quarter, and then defensively it just fell off a cliff. They allowed Detroit to put up 40 points in the second quarter, 34 in the third. The Orlando Magic did win the fourth quarter, but I think the Magic were leading heading into the fourth quarter of that game. But eventually the Magic went on to lose to the Pistons 109-113. It was a tough game. It was a bit of back and forth. For me, one of the important things that the Magic did in this game, and actually they did this in all 3 this week, is they gotten off to good starts in the first quarter, something that we didn't see happen in the early part of pre-season. They seem to come out with a bit of focus at the start of games, which is good to see, and hopefully they can continue that trend, but they just need to tighten up things defensively. And obviously we've got our injury issues as well, so players are still trying to find their way on that end. We'll get into that in a minute. Let's run through the box score of the Pistons game. So Paolo Banchero, who we're going to talk about shortly, finished with a game high for the Magic, 27 points. He had 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks. He did have 4 turnovers. He went 11 from 18 from the field. He didn't shoot any threes in this game, and he got to the free throw line 7 times and shot 5 of 7 from the free throw line. Franz Wagner, 20 points, 8 of 18 from the field. He had his struggles in this game, Franz. We had the late scratch before the game of Cole Anthony, who was ill. And we're already short with no Gary Harris, no Markelle Fultz. So Cole Anthony sat out this one. Jalen Suggs, who was announced a couple of days before the opener that he was ready to return to the lineup, so he was thrown straight back in as the starting point guard. And yeah, we got off to a good start, and then Terrence Ross gave the starters a bit more leadership, gave them some stability back there. Wendell Carter Jr., 11 points, 11 rebounds, and for me the main talking points out of this game though was Paolo Banchero. He's only the third number 1 pick in NBA history to put up, I think it was at least 25 points, 5 rebounds and 5 assists, and he's joined LeBron James and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for doing the same thing. So that's some pretty impressive company. And the guy just looked really, really settled out on the floor. Looked like he's played a couple of years in the NBA, and he looks as ready as a rookie will ever look coming out of the draft. He does a really good job of getting to the free throw line. He had the big dunk over Corey Joseph, who made the wrong decision of trying to stand there and take the block. But it was a really impressive performance by Paolo. There's still some things to work out with Paolo and Franz, how they're going to play together, and they're only going to figure that out as the season goes on. Franz had his struggles, obviously, with no Cole Anthony, no Markelle Fultz. The responsibility was really given to Franz to handle the ball, initiate the offense, and when the opposing defenders put a bit of pressure on him, he turned the ball over 5 times and just looked a little bit unsure of himself at times. But Franz will figure that out. He's too good not to. What other talking points in this game? Jalen Suggs had a massive explosion of points in the third quarter. He went 8 of 11 from the field. I think he scored 18 points of his 21 in that third quarter. Made 4 threes, and just come out firing. It just looked like he was shooting the ball confidently. And it was actually something the Magic needed, because they got down in that third quarter, and Suggs' 18 points actually helped keep the Magic in this game. So it was good to see that flash of what Jalen can do offensively. So yeah, good game or certainly a good quarter for Jalen Suggs. Very good for Paolo, but unfortunately the Magic walked out of Detroit with a loss. Overall, the team shot 48.8% from the field, 36.7% from the 3-point line, and they went 14 and 19 from the free throw line. Something that we certainly need to improve on. We'll get into the next 2 games in a minute, but improving that free throw percentage has certainly got to improve. But yeah, so Magic walk out with a 4-point loss on the opening night, but there was certainly some encouraging things to take from that game. Then the Magic flew to Atlanta to take on the Atlanta Hawks. Same story really. The Magic jumped out to an early lead, 27-19 after 1. Then they let the Hawks put up 31 and 30 in the second and third quarters. And basically, Atlanta, Trae Young started heating up in the fourth quarter. He started seeing those shots go down, those long threes. I think going into this game, I think on opening night, he went 1 of 9 from 3. And it's just one of those things that you don't want to hear when you're watching a game. And then you're like, you just know as soon as he sees 1 or 2 of those threes drop, then Trae's confidence comes back with that, and we certainly saw that in this game. So the Magic got outscored in the fourth quarter 28-17 and ended up dropping this one 108-98. Again, I actually think the offense is doing a good job of being fairly consistent. I think in this game we weren't getting stops when we necessarily needed them. Doesn't give the chance. It doesn't give the defense time to set, and we're not necessarily getting the looks we want. We're sometimes settling for too many threes. Teams are going to give us those until we can prove that we can knock them down. I actually think some of the looks we're getting in some of these games are good looks, especially from the 3-point line. But teams are going to give that up at the moment. But if Paolo can continue attacking the paint and get into the basket and drawing fouls, collapsing the defense, then that's only going to open that up more. But I do think a lot of these games, I think certainly 2 of the 3 games this week have come down to you just got to make shots. I really think it's that simple. But in this game, Paolo, 20 points, 6 of 18 from the field, struggled finishing in this game. I think he missed probably 3 or 4 fairly wide open layups in this game. 1 of 6 from the 3-point line, 7 of 8 from the field. He finished with 12 rebounds, double for Paolo. Still 4 turnovers, but that will come down, and 3 blocks. Paolo, one of the criticisms that he had coming out of college and people talked about in the draft was, does he really try that much on the defensive end? Well, I haven't seen that from him in 3 games. There's chase down blocks. There's challenging shots at the rim. He's crashing the boards. He's doing a really good job of being active. Now, don't get me wrong. There are possessions where he's late on rotations. There's too many ticky-tack fouls. He's reaching in when he shouldn't. But that will come when the game slows down for him on the defensive end, and he starts seeing the floor open up and starting to see plays develop. I think Paolo's gonna certainly come into his own. But he could play defensively. He's got the size. He's got the athleticism. He's got the strength. He's just got to cut down. And I think the same thing for the whole team. That they're cutting down on these silly reaching fouls. Is certainly going to help us on the defensive end. You got to make it tough for opponents. You don't want to give anything easy up at the rim, but that's coming. Paolo's showing us why he was the number 1 pick for sure. Cole Anthony returned to this game. 25 points for Cole, 8 of 12 from the field, 4 of 5 from the 3-point line, 5 of 7 from the 3-throw line. Just a couple of assists for Cole, but his impact here was coming off the bench and shooting threes and giving the Magic a chance to hang around with the Hawks. And when he came off the bench, he certainly helped keep the offense flowing. Jalen Suggs, big talking point, went down. I think it was 4 minutes to go in the first quarter. Went up for a layup and come down and landed on one of the players' foot and had a pretty bad ankle sprain. He shot the 2 free throws, but he soon come off the floor. We didn't see him return to this game. He didn't play against Boston either. And you just get Cole Anthony back, and then you lose Jalen Suggs is a bitter blow. And especially when we're still waiting for Markelle Fultz and Gary Harris to come back, it's tough. I mean, it just feels like so long since we've had the full roster available, fully healthy and available to play. When this team is, that they are going to cause some issues, because I do feel like that shortened rotation in the backcourt, that thin backcourt we've got at the moment, is causing some of the issues we've got. But even that said, this team's still competitive, and it's good to see. Some other notables: Wendell Carter Jr., 14 points, 8 rebounds, 4 of 13 from the field. Not the most efficient game from Wendell. I think he struggled with Clint Capella's size. John Collins gave him some issues. Seven attempts on the 3-point line, 0 of 7. 8 for 34 for the team. It's not good. I think it's something around 25 to 30 3-point attempts feels about right for this team at the moment, until that efficiency starts to improve. You can't shoot 23.5% from the 3-point line and expect to win this game. And despite that, they still hung around the Hawks in this game and kept it close down the stretch. 33 for 80 for the team, 41% from the field, 80% from the free throw line. We had 19 turnovers, too many fast break points, too many second chance points in this game. But look, defensively, 9 steals, 7 blocks. That they're doing plenty on that end. They just got to cut down offensively. And like I said, it's another game where Franz had his struggles handling the ball in this one. 8 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 steals for Franz. But that will come. Paolo and Franz are going to have the ball in their hands a lot this season, and so they should. But I think when Markelle Fultz comes back, there's going to be stretches in games where this team needs to settle down offensively. Fultz gets that ball. It just feels like this team needs a bit of a calm head in stretches of these games where the other team's going on a little bit of a run. You need somebody like Fultz to come in and settle things down a little bit and get the team into good sets. But that will come. So the Magic dropped to 2-0, losing to the Hawks. And then on Saturday, as I said, Paul, Gary, Angus, Ian were all in the house. If you guys are on social media, you would have seen some of the videos and photos and things like that those guys have been posting. They were there for the home opener against the Boston Celtics. The after one quarter, 36-33. The Magic outscored the Celtics by 3 in the second quarter. I think it was tied at 68 all at half time. Boston won the third quarter by 5. And they sort of got their noses in front. The Magic made a couple of runs at the end of this game, but Jason Tatum finished with 40 points. He had a great night. It just felt like, I think there was a stretch at the end of the third quarter where he went cold a little bit from the field, but Tatum just finds a way. He gets a shot to go down, and it's money for Jason Tatum. He was great. The other notable for the Celtics was Derek White. I think he finished with 27 points. It felt like every three he threw up went in. Yeah, tough night. The Magic made this game tough for Boston. I think they knew that coming into this game. There were 17 lead changes. The game was tied 17 times in this. I think this game was much closer than probably national media would make it out to have been. For the Magic, let's look at the box score. 29 points for the Human Torch, Terrence Ross, who finished 11 for 16 from the field, 5 of 8 from the 3-point line. 23 points for Paolo Banchero, 9 of 11 from the free throw line. Paolo's going to get there 6, 7, 8 times a night easily. There was, especially early in this game, he got shown a lot of wide open threes, and probably settled for too many of them. And I think Jamal Mosley had a word with him, said, "Nah, get downhill, young fella, and get into that paint and attack the rim," which he certainly did. Not the most efficient night, and I think the threes was part of this. 2 of 7 from the 3-point line, 6 of 19 from the field. But Paolo's just got to attack that basket. He's a good passer. He'll find those open looks. He'll find those players standing out on the 3-point line. And there were possessions when the ball was swinging around the perimeter. The Magic get good looks, especially against this Boston team who are really, really good defensively. What else can you say? 18 points for Franz Wagner, 8 of 17 from the field, 2 of 6 from the 3-point line, 6 rebounds, 2 assists for Franz. Only 9 turnovers in this game for the Magic, which was a really, really good sign. I think Cole Anthony being back in the starting lineup alongside Paolo and Franz has certainly helped that. Obviously, there was no Jalen Suggs in this one. Some other notables: 14 points for Cole, 6 of 13 from the field, 15 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists for Wendell Carter Jr. Had himself a decent night. Kevon Harris had some really nice plays off the bench, some nice hustle plays. He was actually the first guy off the bench, if I remember rightly. And you're thinking, Christ, we are really short if you're bringing one of the two-way players off the bench first. But he made an impact. He did some nice things. Bol. I said before the season, I think this guy's going to get minutes, and he's definitely getting that. I don't think the box score always tells you everything you need to know. 6 points, 5 rebounds, 4 blocks in this one. Bol's just active, especially on the defensive end. I think in all 3 games when he's come off the bench, he's had 2 or 3 close-out perimeter blocks on 3-point shooters. And sort of blocks that you don't normally see players that they're capable of doing. Bol's obviously got that length that he can do that. 3 of 7 from the field. Look, Bol's still trying to figure things out. He's had a long time where he hasn't played, and you're starting to see these flashes. I actually think, and I know people have been talking about this, but Bol's offering the Magic more than Mo Bamba is at the moment, or it certainly feels that way. Mo's been disappointing, to say the least, through 3 games. 3 points in this one, 1 assist, no rebounds, no blocks. 1 of 3 from the field. Mo just doesn't seem very active. Doesn't feel like he's that engaged at the moment. For whatever reason that is. Obviously he started last year. Now he's having to come off the bench. But Mo's still good enough. He can have a good impact for this team. But there's just something that's not happening right now. And he's got to figure it out, because Jonathan Isaac's going to be back soon. So Jonathan Isaac and Bol coming off the bench is going to give the Magic and give teams some real headaches on the other end, or give other opposing teams headaches when they're having to face that sort of length and defensive versatility. So hopefully we're going to see more from Mo Bamba. So the Magic went 47.4% from the field, 44% from the 3-point line. Both teams shot the 3 really well in this game. 40% for Boston as well. 15 made threes. The Magic got to the free throw line 23 times, 15 out of 23, 65% from the free throw line. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, that's an area the Magic need to improve on. That ability to knock down shots when they get to the free throw line. So you can argue this game, what was it, a 6-point game? You knock down a few more of those free throws, and this game looks very different right down the stretch. But the Magic made a good game of it. Look, we're 0-3. This could quite easily be 2-1, 3-0. There's just some little details. I think all 3 games are finished within 4, 5, 6 points. The Atlanta game was 10, but it was actually a 4 or 5 point game until maybe the last few minutes of this one, when it was a free throw game and you're having to foul them and send them to the free throw line. But the Magic have been competitive in all 3 games despite being short-handed in the backcourt. So look, there's loads to take away. We don't want to be we don't want to be 0-3. But look, there's a long way to go in the season. You look at the standings. It's too early to look at stuff like this, really. But look, Philadelphia 0-3. They lost last night to the San Antonio Spurs. Detroit 1-2. There's a whole load of teams in the East 1-2, 1-1. As soon as you get that win in the win column, it's like seeing a shot go down. Once that shot goes down, that confidence will pick up. And if we can get Markel Fultz, Gary Harris back soon, Jalen Suggs, eventually we're going to see Jonathan Isaac. When that's going to be, who knows? But look, this team. I said in last week's predictions, this team is going to cause teams issues, and we've seen that in all 3 games. They're gonna give teams a real good game. So hopefully we can continue this trend of getting off to good starts. That was a problem last year. We were getting ourselves down early in the opening quarters, and we'll see. There's a long way to go. So that was this week. So as I said, I'm going to be heading over to Orlando with the family on Wednesday. There's also a bunch of other UK fans heading over. I'm going to be there for 4 games along with Paul. We got the Charlotte Hornets on Friday, Golden State, Sacramento, and Houston. 4 fun games we're going to be there for. So whilst I'm over there, there's going to be no podcast now for I think the next 3 weeks until we're back. We're going to be posting a load of content on our social media platforms. So there's going to be photos and videos and stuff, so you guys can keep up to date with stuff on there. I think it's something like the 12th or 13th, so expect a podcast around that sort of time. So between now and then, there's 10 games. Between now and our next episode. So we've got the New York Knicks on Monday, which is Tuesday morning, 12:30 in the morning. Wednesday at the Cleveland Cavaliers, which is a midnight tip-off. Friday against the Hornets is a midnight tip-off in the UK. Again, we'll be over for that. Keep up to date on stuff that we're doing over there. Then we're at the Dallas Mavericks and the Oklahoma City Thunder. That wraps up six road games in 8 out of our first 8. That wraps that up before the Magic then start a nice big homestand. We've got the Golden State Warriors, the Sacramento Kings, Houston Rockets, Dallas Mavericks, and the Phoenix Suns before we're back with the next episode. We're going to leave predictions until we're back. I've not heard from the guys about what they think is going to happen over the next 10. So I think we'll leave predictions until we're back. And then we'll carry that on for the rest of the season. But there's certainly some winnable games in this stretch. New York are 1-1. We all remember that big Cole Anthony game at the start of last season where we won in New York, and the whole Bing Bong game, so that was good fun. So that's certainly winnable. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they are also 1-1. Again, two competitive teams in the East that we can give anybody a good run for their money on any given night. The Hornets, they're not very good. The Hornets are not very good. That's got to be a win for me. Then we've got Dallas Mavericks on the road. That's a tough game. OKC on the road. That's got to be a win, surely. The Warriors at home. Finally get the chance to see Steph Curry and the Warriors. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure the Amway is going to be a little bit like last night's home opener, where there's going to be a lot of Warriors fans in the building, but we're going to make some noise as well. The Kings and the Rockets, 2 very winnable games for me. Before we face the Mavericks and the Suns, 2 tough teams in the West. But we're at home. We're going to have a nice big, I think it's a 7-game homestand altogether. I don't see any reason why we can't walk out of this stretch with 5 or 6 wins to get our season up and running. So nice short episode this week. Like I said, we're going to be back in 3 weeks' time. leave us comments. Thank you as always for listening and watching. Stay up to date with the latest Orlando Magic news by subscribing to our YouTube channel, Orlando Magic UK. Leave us your comments. Keep up to date with what we're doing on our trip in Orlando over the next few weeks by following us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok and Twitter at Orlando Magic UK. So until next time, go Magic.